as the Housing Secretary, Michael Gove, is today expected to announce action on developers who've profited from building unsafe homes.
Liam Spender is a spokesman for End Our Cladding Scandal campaign, who are seeking a solution to the building safety crisis. What is the cladding scandal specifically to your campaign, Liam? How does it affect you?
Good morning. So, as you say, since Grenfell more than 4.5 years ago, about 90,000 buildings across the UK have found themselves in this unholy mess of being in buildings that have flammable cladding or have fire safety defects inside the building, things like fire doors that don't work properly, fire alarms that don't work properly, things like that. They've been trapped and unable to sell, and some of them are facing ruinous bills, hundreds of pounds.
Are you one of those
to pay
people,
for fire
Liam?
patrols. I am relatively lucky, so I live in a building under 18 metres with cladding, but we don't have any of the interim measures, at least fingers crossed, not at the moment.
Yeah.
What do you make of these announcements that we're expecting to hear today under the stewardship of Michael Gove? Let me get this right, £4 billion for those in lower-rise buildings. Is this going to be very welcome, do you think?
It's a welcome step in the right direction. Whether the plan to deliver that money building by building is there, we're not sure at the moment, but we're pleased Michael Gove seems to be wanting to resolve the problem, but the devil is in the detail.
Yeah, you say seems to be wanting to resolve the problem. They've got to do the right thing, surely. This is an absolute nightmare, and it's nobody's fault who's bought an apartment or a flat or finds themselves living in one, is it?
Absolutely right. The people living in these buildings are completely innocent, and there seems to have been an awful lot of politics and an awful lot of wrangling with the Treasury over the last 4.5 years, and only now do we seem to be starting on the road to a solution.
I'm just interested, obviously this is a move that will support leaseholders. They're going to be spared paying for this expensive removal of this flammable cladding. Presumably then that cost is going to be passed on to the freeholders, i.e. the developers. And is that right in your view? Or is it actually the fault of the government? I just want to be clear about whether or not these developers have gone up and put cladding up that the government have already told them isn't safe, or has the government just failed to stop it? Where do you stand on that?
I mean, I think it's right that the developers pay the lion's share. They put these buildings up, and where you have the internal defects I mentioned, that can only be the responsibility of the developer, but by choice or by negligence. The government does have a role here. Successive governments have failed to regulate, and whether this $4 billion actually materialises and reaches the people in question is the issue we need to see the detail on.
Yeah, and the people in question are how many?
It could be millions. There's about 76,000 buildings in the UK between 11 and 18 metres tall. So even if you've only got 20 flats per building, you could be looking at 1 or 2 million people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Liam, just explain to people, I mean, we've heard a lot about it since the tragedy of Grenfell in 2017, but just remind us how it has been for people living in buildings with this cladding, with the fear of having to pay for it, not having the money in the savings to do it, and also knowing that they can't sell their property.
A living nightmare is the easiest way to summarise it. It's a fate you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. The mental health toll of this has been enormous, and the human cost in terms of people delaying having families, not being able to move closer to live with loved ones, having to go back to work when they've retired. It's a catalogue of human misery, and it's shocking that we're more than 4.5 years on from Grenfell, and we're only just starting to see the first glimmer of a solution.